Hello, and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, strategies, and insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today, I'm very lucky to be joined by David Allred of Stamp. How's it going, David?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for joining. And David, I'd love to just start this off by learning a little bit more about you and a little bit more about Stamp.
All right. Stamp's been in business since 1959. Wasn't here when it was founded. I joined in 1992 and in 1994 became a principal and was managing partner for 30 years and am now really just taking on the strategy director role primarily here at the agency, but I also oversee personnel and operations. And we are a small full service advertising agency that does work with service sector clients, construction, public service, education, and love what we do and want to do more of it.
Wow. So you look like a pretty young guy, David. Was this your first job out of college?
Actually, yeah, it was. I started here as an intern and was in the right place at the right time. And the former owner wanted to sell the agency, had started another business, and had the opportunity to buy in. I was 24 years old. I couldn't rent a car, but I
That's
owned an
crazy.
agency. It was only about five people when we bought it, and we've grown it to about 20. So,
Wow, that's amazing. You're able to buy your agency after 2 years at just 24.
yeah, crazy. Like I
Yeah.
look at 24-year-olds now, and I haven't met one that I would sell the business to. At the time, it didn't seem so crazy to me, but
Yeah.
back on it, it was really crazy.
Yeah, I think about myself when I was 24. I was an idiot. So that's the wow. I mean,
There's no saying I wasn't an idiot, but they let me get into the business, and
yeah, yeah. So how does that come about? Like, where did you have like somehow have the money to be able to buy this, or did you hustle? Did you work out a deal with the
no,
owner?
it was owner financed, so a small agency. That's pretty much the only
That was it.
really viable way to sell a small agency is to sell it to the employees. And it was a decent amount of money, but when we looked at it, it was like the cost of a really nice house, and we
Mm.
had 5 years to pay for it. And so we just hunkered down and paid for it over those 5 years. And at the end of 5 years, owned it outright. Now, if we missed one payment, it reverted back to the former owner. So we were very cognizant of that. And to be honest, we just didn't take a lot of money out of the business. We used almost everything we made to make sure we had the money to pay the debt off. But we were both early, all three of us were early in our careers, so we didn't require a lot of personal income at that point. So we were able to take a lot of the agency's income and profit and pay down the debt. And I've always run the business very conservatively and made sure we have money in the bank. And I'm not a big believer in borrowing a lot of money. It's worked out for us for 30 years.
Yeah, it worked out, but also it's very smart for you to be able to say, hey, we're not going to take any money out of the business. We need to make sure that we pay the owner back. You know what I mean? Every month. That takes a lot of discipline to be able to do. That's awesome. That's really cool. You don't hear that too much. So that's really interesting. So you've said that you used to enjoy doing something different every day, and now it's every hour. How has that adaptability shaped your 30 plus year agency journey?
Yeah, I said every day because things went a lot slower when we bought the business 30
Yeah.
years ago, and things go very fast now. But a lot of times when I'm interviewing, especially graphic design or art directors who maybe are still in school, the one thing I'll tell them is the best thing you can do is go get a minor or a second degree in marketing. Because a lot of times designers get into the business because they love design or they love art. And this is not about what you love. It's about what the consumers that we're needing to influence for that particular client are going to respond to. And unless you know marketing and understand marketing, you're going to have a really difficult time succeeding in the business. And that really led us to what I head up at the agency, which is strategy direction. It's facilitation. And so we have a process we go through with clients, and it's very deliberate. It's very much about the audiences that will help them succeed. What they need to do specifically, what they need to believe is the most important part. And then last is the process, and the process is the marketing plan. And we just find so many times people start with the process and they don't really look at who they're trying to influence, what they need them to do, but most importantly, what they need them to believe. What is it we've got to convince them to do in order for us to succeed with them? And that's related back to that art director getting a degree in marketing and actually understanding the marketing side. I say changing hats is what we do all day in this business. If you're working with five clients and one's a hospital and one's a Department of Transportation, they have very different audiences. If somebody asks me to look at an ad for a hospital and then 5 minutes later look at an ad for the Department of Transportation, they don't have to tell me, okay, think like a patient in a hospital, think like a driver. You just, your mind just constantly is switching and you depend on each other to switch that quickly because you don't have time to try to reset people's mindset. You just know that instinctively in the business, or you're not going to survive in the business.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such an underrated quality, or a quality at least that people don't talk about in marketing, that the ability to like switch hats like that on a dime, you know? It really makes or breaks you as an effective marketer. So that's cool that you guys, and also you guys, it seems like one of your principles is really laying down the foundation when you're working with clients, when you're hiring and everything, because you really encourage people to go get a degree in marketing. And that is all about laying the foundation before. A lot of people get stuck, like you're saying, on starting with the process. And that's more so of the framing of it all, to use construction terms. But you guys really focus on the foundation.
And I tell people all the time, look, you wouldn't start building a house without architectural plans.
Yep.
You wouldn't go to a surgeon and say, hey, I need surgery on my knee without an x-ray. And a surgeon's not going to do it. He shouldn't.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in our business, there's a lot of people, if somebody says, hey, I need surgery on my knee, and they're an outdoor billboard company, they're going to say, all right, that's great. Come on, I'll sell you a billboard. I wrote a blog today about the objectivity that an agency has as it relates to media buying and the implicit bias that a media sales rep has selling media. That is their job, is to be biased, right? So you want, in my world, you want an agency in between the client and the media because we're very objective. We basically make the same thing no matter what we sell. And we're going to help the client see that if you're trying to reach a tiny sliver of the population, a billboard is not the thing to do. It's a generalization there, but it depends on who you're trying to reach, what you need them to do, and if the belief that you need them to have is very complex, billboard or outdoor media is probably not the place to be. It needs to be more into, maybe need to be digital, where we can bring them to a website where they can learn more and you can get very granular. And I think that's the thing that has changed in my career is just the arc of technology or the arc of the ability to communicate. Probably a lot of the creative is still very similar. People say, oh, social media and so on. I'm like, social media is very much like PR. These young people who are doing social media don't realize they're really just PR specialists because they just grew up in a different world. But with all the different media opportunities, there were not nearly that many 30 years ago when I started in the business. And just to see the arc of where we were, I say this to young people in our business, the two largest expenditures of media were newspaper and yellow page ads. And people are like, what's a yellow page? And I've never actually seen a printed newspaper. Think about that.
Yeah.
You may not even realize how much people spend on yellow pages.
Oh my God.
I do this every interview now. I ask everybody I interview, I say, do you know what the yellow pages is? And there's a cutoff, right? It's
Yeah.
usually 25. And a
Uh-huh.
23-year-old person recently said, yeah, I know what that is. I said, oh, yeah, what's it for? And they said, my dad would get it out and put it under us at the table so we could sit higher and when we were eating. I don't know what else it's for.
Oh, that's
I
hilarious.
mean, but think about it.
Yeah.
If you handed a yellow pages to anybody 25 or younger and said, hey, look up Orange 142, they'd be like,
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to use this. And they'd go to maybe they figured out it's in the O's and they'll say they're not in here. It's because they're not in Alabama.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What? How did you find them?
Yeah.
And so just to have been in the business through that arc, it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, it really is. You remember the old trick that Yellow Page companies used to do? It's where they would, construction companies and just like home service companies, were very notorious for this. They name their company like construction or
Mm.
something, so they could
Oh,
be
no.
first.
We had this conversation in front of a bunch of young people, and we were
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, that's why people are ABC towing. And they were like,
Yeah.
what? I said, yeah, so when you're in an alphabetical list, you come first.
Yep.
They just could not understand it. I'd love to have an old phone book. I guess that's the first thing we throw away because it's big and bulky. None of us ever thought we'd never see one again. But I
Yeah.
think about the decimation of that business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Crazy.
And as soon as I saw digital outdoor, I thought newspapers are dead.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
before digital, but everything has just decimated that business. And to think of
Yeah.
the money we spent on news,
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane.
it's
Yeah.
mind-boggling.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder how paper companies are doing these days. You know what I mean?
It's got to be, I can't even imagine.
You
Yeah.
think about all these suppliers for yellow pages and
Well,
newspapers and whatnot.
those companies are definitely, there was whole industries
It's
built around
crazy.
that. But Google is the killed the yellow pages. They
Yeah.
took, so that's the other interesting thing. The money was being spent, BG, right?
Hmm.
It was spent
Mm.
there. It was being spent
Yes.
somewhere else. So there was somebody who really suffered in order for Google to become what they are. And it's just fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. It's happening everywhere. Things are changing like that. You think things like connected TV and whatnot, and how that's just absolutely decimated cable these days, and then even how big the advertising industry has changed. Where I feel like it's gotten better for advertisers specific. That might just be a me thing, but before you used to have to just make a bunch of assumptions. If you're going to place an ad in a like a as a commercial, okay, these people watch these types of TV shows, so we're going to put these types of ads in front of them. You know what
That,
I mean?
that was
But
all you could do.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
it.
yeah. And now it's, oh, hey, we can target by interest. You know what I mean? We do a lot of programmatic here at Orange, and it gets pretty crazy the level of targeting that we can do. We can target people who are in market for knee replacements, for example. You know what I mean? It gets pretty insane. So I think and yes, it's changed a lot. But at the same time, for advertisers, in a lot of ways, it's gotten a lot better, or it's gotten.
I think that's 100% true. Just for that's the other interesting thing. I was looking at a chart today about search revenue surpassing TV revenue in
Mhm.
25. I think it was Statista has a chart, and a lot of other media is flat. And the ones growing, of course, are digital. TV though is still growing. It's
Mhm.
just search is going to overcome it, and
Yeah.
it allows such a small amount of money to be spent by so many people.
Mhm.
It amasses into a huge amount of money where TV is not accessible to that
Yeah.
small advertiser.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
too much trouble, too many different things,
yeah,
production, all of the things.
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting. I'm actually seeing this that even search is changing in the sense that we had
Well,
an agency on the podcast not too long ago, and what they're focusing on is AI SEO. Specifically, crazy. Like you can now, more and more people are using ChatGPT to search
oh,
things that they would have normally Googled. And so when you search, hey, what's the best plumber in Montgomery, Alabama? You know what I mean? You can now, for ChatGPT, you can like mess with the system so that it shows you first. You know,
well,
that's
look, here's
insane.
the other part of that is though, and this is a real thing, is they're saying website traffic is going to drop dramatically
Mm,
because you're getting your answer above the results. So you're
yeah,
not going to actually look for the results anymore on websites, and it is going to change search dramatically. I believe that's why Google is freaking out a little bit because people are using alternate chat
mm,
GPT. They're seeing, hey man, I just go ask it a very specific question and I get the
yeah,
answer. I
yeah,
don't have to dig for it.
yeah,
I think it is we're talking about it. I was asking the other day, I was like, what's the acronym now? Artificial Intelligence Optimization? Is it
yeah,
AIO? What is it? Because that's what we need to be doing. Uh,
yeah.
and everybody is evolving towards that. Now, companies that focus on search engine optimization they better pivot and they better get
Mhm.
smart on it, or it's
Exactly.
going to be a
Exactly.
real challenge.
Yeah, and it's insane how fast Google moved too on it because they saw this a while ago, and that's why they were like, all right, let's develop Gemini and let's make sure that when you search something that like Google is still relevant, that hey, I can still Google something and I'll get an AI answer at the very top. And now anytime you Google something, there's an AI answer that summarizes all of your search results.
Yeah,
They're trying.
they're trying, but what does that do to PPC?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It
You're
goes
absolutely right.
away.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
how do they make revenue?
Yeah, that's true. And that's a big bulk of their revenue right there.
It's think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know how you monetize AI results. I
Yeah,
haven't seen it yet.
exactly. Because it takes away the integrity of the AI if it's pay to play. So that's really
Exactly.
interesting. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah,
So
that's a
you're
thinker.
exactly right. The arc is continuing, right? I guess you can't use an arc because we're not at the end.
Hmm.
Of course, we don't know where we are on it, but it was so simple,
Hmm.
so simple. Way back in the whatever, the beginning of the industry, the Mad Men days, it was TV and what, four channels, and there was nothing other than media commissions for people to make money, which
Yeah.
it just blows my mind. And they were making that much money, and
Yeah.
just where are we? Where are
Yeah.
we on the arc? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Wow. We're really it's like lucky to live through this time where we've seen this just rapid change in media and really lucky to be in marketing where it's like very like we see a lot of those changes.
Yeah,
David,
cool.
this has been so great. Thank you so much for being on. Where can people learn more about you? Where can people learn more about Stamp?
Stampideas.com. Where else is there, right?
Yeah, search it on
And
ChatGPT.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's interesting. I haven't really used ChatGPT to really look directly for a .com. I guess it gives you that back.
It does.
Interesting point, does it?
Yeah, yep,
Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
yeah. So stampideas.com. We full service, small. I guess we're a boutique agency. We don't really think of ourselves that way. Do a lot of work in tourism and travel as well from a service perspective, but really try to focus on those four verticals: education, public service, tourism and travel, and construction services.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you again, David. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.